Lakers get a big win at Crypto.com Arena last night. It was a big dub for the Lake Show. The Lakers were looking up at the Rockets at the number 2 seed. They're in the 5th spot, and with a win on Monday, they closed the gap by a full game and tied the season series at 1 apiece. They win by a final score of 104-108. They got another game against the Rockets next week, and the victory that puts them in a great position to own the tiebreaker against the Rockets, and then you could possibly pass them in the standings. So right now, the Lakers, they are sitting at 46-29. And looking up at the Nuggets and the Rockets, right now they would host the Grizzlies in a first-round matchup. But let's talk about last night's win, because I thought it was a great win for the Lakers just because they played into the style of the Rockets and were still able to get the dub. And the way they shot, Lakers shot 39% from the field. The Rockets hit just 36% of their shots in the second half. It was a rock fight. It was a street brawl kind of in the second half. But the Lakers, they outplayed Houston. It was a playoff-like atmosphere, and they were able to get the win. For all the unks out there, the old heads that want to see 90s basketball back, that felt like a 90s basketball game there in the second half. Now, you look at the first half of the game, and it was rough. It was rough for a Lakers team scoring 16 points in the first quarter. They did have a moment there where they hit a real scoring slump. They went 3 minutes without a bucket. The Rockets, they took full advantage. They put up 5 straight points in that stretch. It turned into just a low-scoring affair early on. Both teams struggling to find a rhythm offensively. Houston did have a 3-point lead at the end of the first quarter. Then the second quarter started. Jabari Smith Jr., he went off. He caught fire, hit 8 straight points. Houston, they upped that defensive pressure. They forced the Lakers into bad shots. And you need a big shot by LeBron. Wasn't the greatest LeBron James game by any stretch. I think defensively he played well, but it's a big one-legged 3 there to keep that Lakers offense afloat and in that one. And then Jordan Goodwin, he takes the ball from Brooks, converted a nice little layup there. The Lakers, they were down by 4 with under 7 minutes left in the half, and they were shooting 17% from beyond the arc. And then enter Gabe Vincent. Gabe Vincent and Dorian Finney-Smith combined, they won the game for the Lakers last night. Gabe came off the bench. He had a 3 for the Lakers. Lakers were shooting just 34% from the field, but because of that strong shooting, they kept the game close. Luka, I want to talk about this moment too, where Luka had Sengun on skates before passing it to Dorian Finney-Smith, his buddy, for a 3. He had my man Sengun playing Twister out there. And it was a fun moment. And I think about Luka Doncic, you don't think of him as Mr. Kyrie handles or anything like that, but the way he can dribble, the way he can shoot, it definitely shows it right there that he can keep his defender off balance and embarrass dudes when he needs to. And then the Lakers hit a couple free throws from Luka to tie the game at half. And in the second half action, the Lakers go ahead by 4. Both teams had 5 3-pointers early on in the second half. Jackson Hayes didn't have a big night offensively, but he did have a nice dunk. Brooks kind of put some points together, scored 5 for the Rockets. And then it was the DFS show again. LeBron just couldn't really get it together in the first half, but second half, he did find a rhythm, hit 5 points there early on. With 3 minutes left, the Lakers, they were just turning the ball over, missing shots. They hit a 2-point lead and they went up 5 after another 3 from Gabe Vincent. And Gabe hit another 3, his 5th of the game. Between him and Dorian Finney-Smith, he had 11 long-range 3s, 11 beyond the arc. And then Rui, not a great game from the field, but he hit a 3 as well. So Lakers, at the end of the third, they were up 5. In the final quarter, the Lakers were up 7, but it got turned into a slugfest really quick. You know, with Brooks involved, it was going to at some point, but the Lakers kept answering yesterday. They answered every time the Rockets got it close. Lakers hit a big shot, got a big stop. Thompson, he scored 5 points, and that put the Lakers within striking. That put the Rockets very close within striking distance. And with 5:42 left to play, the Lakers, they made a 2-point game. The Rockets made a 2-point game. It was close, and then you had 2 free throws, 1 by Luka, he had a pair, then 2 by Gabe. That puts the Lakers up 5 with 6 minutes to go in the fourth. Then Smith, he hit another jumper to get the Lakers a deeper lead. And then Houston, just the breakdowns defensively in that one. You had LeBron finding Rui for a really nice dunk in a defensive breakdown. Then Dylan Brooks, he had a steal. He had 2 free throws. He split the pair to keep it a 2-point game with 20 seconds, but LeBron, he hits the 2 clutch free throws. The Lakers led with 4 with a couple seconds left, and the Lakers, they get the win. So, yeah, nice little block there by LeBron, too, just spiking it on the Crypto.com arena floor near the baseline there. So, yeah, my big takeaway from this one, not the best game from the big three. Offensively, defensively, I think Luka, Reeves, and LeBron had their best defensive showing in a long time. But tonight was about Dorian Finney-Smith and Gabe Vincent. They made 6 3-pointers. He scored 20 points off the bench in a game where the big three, they just weren't giving that scoring punch. It was those 2 guys that proved that, hey, they could win a game for you in the playoffs. Dorian Finney-Smith, 20 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals. Gabe Vincent, 20 points, 4 boards, 1 assist. You had 6 threes from Gabe. You had 6 threes from Dorian Finney-Smith. That was the game. They're getting the game ball. And after the game, JJ Redick, he talked about the Lakers win and how important the defense was.
Yeah, I wouldn't say a rhythm. I mean, those are 2 very different games. The competitive spirit and togetherness, we had to play really hard tonight to put ourselves in a position to win the basketball game. We set a season high for catch and shoot threes with 29. A lot of those were uncontested. We were 2 for 16 on uncontested threes in the first half. I feel like, we left a lot on the table, and they did a really good job, I thought, of not allowing us at times to get the matchups that we wanted with some of their scrams, some missed shots. Did a good job of taking care of the basketball, limited them to 13 fast break points and 10 second chance points, made them play in the half court. Their guys really competed on that. They left everything on, they emptied the tank. They emptied the tank on the defensive end. It was fantastic.
I think my speed monitor. So, yeah, JJ Redick, I mean, he's making some really good points right there in that, look, they didn't find a rhythm, but they still found a way to win. I think tonight or yesterday was a really good example that you win with veterans, you win with quality role players, and when you don't have an established veteran as your superstar on the other team, you do have Fred VanVleet, like the Rockets, they're going to have to answer some questions in the playoffs if they have enough firepower and guys that can come through in big spots to get it done. But J-Rob, big win for the Lakers. We talked about it yesterday. This team needs to rack up as many wins heading to the playoffs. Not a great game for LeBron, not a great game for Luka or Austin Reeves, but I think that's a positive sign. They can beat one of the better teams of the Western Conference and not have the best night from your big three.
Yeah, I thought that was a really big silver lining with this game. This is one of those moments where you're going to have to win a dogfight, and you want your basketball team, especially heading into the postseason, to sometimes win a grudge match. And this was a very physical basketball game. I love the fact, honestly, watching Dorian Finney-Smith and Gabe Vincent come alive in this game. That's a great sign for Lakers fans because those are guys who have playoff experience. You've seen them with Dallas. You've seen Gabe Vincent with the Miami Heat. And so you want your role players to come alive in the playoffs because obviously we know what Luka's going to do. We know what LeBron's going to do. And even Austin Reeves having an off night, he's been consistent throughout the season. We know what he's capable of as well. But you do want your role players to be able to chip in because that 15 you get from a DFS or that 20 you may get from a Gabe Vincent, that 6 3 a night, that's a game that wins you a playoff round. It wins you a game. And so, they're obviously your big three didn't have the greatest numbers on the stat sheet, but I really was impressed by this win because sometimes you do have to win ugly.
For sure. And it's a good test for them at this part of the season is to put them in a dogfight, have those other guys entrust them to come up in those spots, and they certainly did. Throwing out our grades, LeBron James, 16 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. I love that emphatic, just like, block at the end, showing some toughness, some aggression there. 5 for 12, 2 for 4 from beyond the arc. Did hit 2 clutch free throws at the end. The Lakers were at +9 with Keem James out on the floor. And yeah, it wasn't a great night offensively. He lost the ball a couple times, wasn't dribbling it right. He kind of lost the ball trying to take Dylan Brooks to the basket there in the fourth quarter. It was a costly turnover there in the final minute, but still comes up big, gets the dime to Rui, who hit the nice dunk, hit 2 clutch free throws, had a big block late. It's LeBron James. Like, his C grade is most teams' like best game ever, right? So when you look at the totality of their performance, Luka Doncic, I'll give LeBron like a B- just because it's LeBron James. Like, LeBron. We're gonna talk about those songs.
He's on a curve.
Yeah, exactly, right? He's on a curve. There you go. Luka Doncic, 26, 9, 2, 6 for 16. Not a great night shooting beyond the arc for Luka. 1 for 7 from downtown. Did go 7 to 9 from the charity stripe. And he looks like he's banged up a little bit. He looks like he's not at 100%. So I'm looking forward to these 2 days of rest for Luka before the Lakers take on the Warriors. And he needs a 3-ball to start falling for him, and he needs to get hot for this team to have a realistic chance of making a deep run. But the thing about Luka, we talked about LeBron when he's not playing well. Luka, when he's not playing well, scoring-wise, is always making the right play. When he put Sengun on skates and had him playing Twister out there on the Crypto.com arena floor, he was finding DFS for 3-pointers. He found DFS for 4 of his 6 3-pointers in those pick and pop actions on the night. Austin Reeves, 12, 8, and 3 and 2, 5 for 11, 0 for 3 from Reeves. Reeves' kind of variance game by game is starting to scare me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, I loved your take about him in the best third option in the league. When he's at his best, he certainly is that, right, and he's for sure in the conversation. But when his jumper is a little messy, and he just doesn't have great feel for just getting to the rim in certain spots, it almost feels like he's thinking, oh, Luka's here. Should I give him the ball? LeBron's here. Should I give him the ball? Is it my turn in those certain spots? Did not think that he had a great game, but still, he definitely was doing a lot of the dirty work defensively. So I give him a C-. A C- for Austin Reeves. Then A+ for Dorian Finney-Smith and Gabe Vincent. We talked about those two. Combined, if I told you last night, you're ready to combine 40 points from DFS and Gabe Vincent, you would think that, hey, this team can beat anyone in the league in any series because of how well the big three can play when they're at their best. Jared Vanderbilt, I'm giving him a C-. Haven't been impressed with him lately. He goes 1 for 6 from the floor, a -4 overall with him on the floor, 2.6 rebounds. Offensively, I'm not going to lie, it's painful to watch Jared Vanderbilt out there for the Lakers. My man struggles offensively, and it's going to be interesting to see how much they trust him in a playoff rotation. We know what he does defensively, but you look at the minutes, and that will tell you a lot about a player. The minutes down to 10 minutes, struggling offensively with the Rockets' size. Jared Vanderbilt in a little bit of slump. Jordan Godwin, hate to give him a D, but I kind of will. 2 for 5, 4 points. He kind of fouled Fred Van Vliet there. By the way, you think Fred Van Vliet looks like Mike Evans? I saw someone point that out.
Snap.
That's a wild one, right?
Yeah, that's a good one, though. Actually,
we're going to run through the players that look like players later this week.
Pretty all right.
I didn't ever see that one. I thought he looked like Drake a little bit.
Drake one a bunch of times.
But Mike Evans, because Mike Evans kind of big. You know what's funny? I bet you like the same height, right? NBA players, NFL players. Yeah. Breaking news, NFL players are big, right? So Godwin, not the best night. Don't connect. He had a little stint in the second quarter. Defensively has not looked great. It's hard to play him in these big matchups. So I don't think we're going to see a ton of Dalton Connect. So I give Dalton Connect a C- just because he's a rookie, not his best. And then Jackson Hayes. Last one is Jackson Hayes. 3 points, 3 boards, 1 dime. Defensively, he's so important for this team that if he can just be respectable out there offensively and be a lob threat, do some dirty work defensively, he's going to be able to play. But going up against Zach Edey and Sengun the last couple of games, going to combine 31 minutes, has not really impressed. So that is my biggest concern. Where the Lakers have a center, will they have the big that allows them to play defense at a average-ish level and not put too much of a burden on the big three to do what they did last night? Because everyone's going to say LeBron and Luka didn't have a great night. If you watch them defensively, it was probably their best night. But here was LeBron James after the game talking about the win.
I thought defensively we was very locked in with our game plan and our what we wanted to do. It's a team that won, I think, 13 out of 14. They've been red hot, probably the hottest team in the NBA. And we understood that we had to key in on our keys defensively in order to win the game.
You someone that looks at the standings? Have you done that in the past, and why or why not?
Well, I mean, because it's so close yet. You know, this year in particular, it's so close and people are jumping each other, falling behind, whatever the case may be. It's not like I don't do it every day, but, you know, it's talked about pretty much all the time, and you kind of see where you're at. For us, obviously, our mission is to lock in a playoff spot and not have to play in the play-in. So we understand what's at stake.
And so, yeah, I mean, you hear LeBron James out there, and this guy knows how to time his team's runs better than any player that we've ever seen. So if people are going to call him the Wash King, people are saying he's not moving right, let's wait until we see the playoffs, because LeBron can flip a switch better than any player in the history of the association. So he's still working his way back from the groin strain. He's still getting back in the swing of things. And let's be honest, he's not going to empty the tank against the Rockets in March. That's not what the King does. He knows that they need him for April, May, and hopefully for the purple and gold in June. But here was Luka Doncic after the game talking about this team win. Here's LeBron. Here's Luka. Win.
Yeah, definitely. Just do what the defense give you. You know, they got to give you something at some point. So, once we saw they're doing that, we're just telling those guys to shoot.
How do you feel also just with Gabe and your other teammates now, and how comfortable are you with the rest of the roster as well?
Great, very comfortable. As you saw today we fought. We fought really hard. It was a very physical game. And, we got to play like this every game. If we play like this on the defensive end, on offense, we didn't do much outside Gabe and Dodo, but we share the ball. We're playing forward with pace, and we just got to play like that.
So I love what he had to say right there. If we play like this every game, we're going to win. And it does get talked about enough because you don't see defensive stats other than steals and blocks and things like that show up in the box score. But it's the commitment on a possession per possession basis that really stood out yesterday. I mean, there was, Coach K used to kind of say it. When players get to the gym and it's an empty gym, they grab the basketball and start shooting, right? They don't just go and do defensive slides and this and that. That's just not how it works, right? So it's tough to quantify and evaluate defense, but they did it last night and it led to a win.